Hello, everybody. I am beyond excited to start this conversation with Jenny here, who has been homeschooling for a while, but we know that so many of you are out there and you've been thrown into homeschooling unexpectedly. You are accidentally homeschooling, which I love that title for the course that you lead, Jenny. And so before we get into the meat of what we want to talk about today and getting you guys the resources that you really need, just want to cover a couple of housekeeping things here. So first, if you are watching us live, we want to be interacting with you. Let us know what questions you have. What are the things that you really need support around or things you struggle with in this season of accidentally homeschooling? Drop that in the comments. And so just start off by letting us know where you're watching from. And you should see above your chat, there might be a thing that says like grant StreamYard permission. If you just click on that, it's going to take you to another screen. You click OK, and you'll be able to come back. And what that does is it just helps us to connect your name with the chat. So we are broadcasting right now to multiple places at the same time. I love technology that we're able to do that. And so that little piece just helps us to know like who it is so that we can talk directly to you and answer your question directly. So make sure you do that. But so excited to have you here. This is a part of a series from the Work From Home Collaborative project that we've been doing. And so Jenny and I are part of a team of over 20 experts who have come together to create online courses and resources for people who are working from home. Whether you have been doing that for a really long time or you're new to it, we know that there are a ton of struggles, and especially in this season where it's not only that most people have been forced now to work from home, but if you are a parent, you are also having to juggle this extra layer of now you've got to deal with educating your children when you thought that was being covered by other people. Mm-hmm. So we're excited to have Jenny here, who is going to talk about accidentally homeschooling. She's going to give you some tips, some encouragement, and some resources for you to have as a parent who's dealing with this. And so, Jenny, tell us a little bit about how you came to be a part of this work from home project and about your background with homeschooling.
Sure. I think it was our first week of quarantine. I think it must have been like the March 18th, and Siri, who's also leading several of your courses, sent me she called me, and that was really like, oh, Siri doesn't normally, like if she needs something, she'll text or whatever. And I was like, it's a phone call. Like, what is this?
A phone call.
And she was like, you know how Siri is very like matter of fact and everything. And so it's great. And I was like, this sounds very serious. What is going on? And she was like, well, there's this group of powerhouses, and I really think that you need to be a part of it. And you can, I think that there's space for you to do money coaching. I actually already told Kelly about you, blah, 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 blah. And the more that we started talking about this, and I was like, ooh, powerhouse. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, adjusting to possibly not doing anything. And so then, being labeled powerhouse and like do all this stuff, it was just like, I jumped on it. I was just like, okay, great, here we go. And but through talking with Siri and then talking with you, I think just maybe that next day, it came up that, there's a lot of personal finance experts, there's more than one in the program. And one unique thing that I could bring was that working from home, being an entrepreneur, owning multiple businesses and homeschooling my kids at the same time. And so it kind of felt like that maybe was the lens that I needed to go down with this project. And also my unique perspective and position with homeschooling. I'm not, there's a lot of different ways to homeschool. There's about as many different ways to homeschool as there are families. And maybe it's the culture where I live geographically, but there's a lot of like unschoolers and very untraditional, just child-led learning happening. And so I'm a very relaxed homeschool mom. And I think that that's really what even all the type A moms out there, and whatever your label is, like, we all need to just take a chill pill and, not stress out right now, because we are stressing out about, finances and the work and our future and like all of these other, our health, the economy, our marriages, we're stuck at home with these people. There's all this other stuff going on. And yeah, and then there's like educating your kids. And I just think that it's time to breathe. And so I felt like my unique position being really loosey-goosey and child-led. And like, of course, I want what's in the best interest of my child, but so does everybody. And that looks real different, depending on who you are and what your values and your priorities are. So I just really felt called to say yes without knowing what I was getting myself into. And I feel like this morning I had to wake up early because I was like, I need to get on there. They're posting all the stuff about what we need to do for marketing. And I'm like, felt a little slow and like behind, I'm like not quite as, I don't know, up to speed with technology and whatnot. And so I appreciate you holding space for me in this community.
No, listen, so this is not having to do anything with homeschooling specifically, but I think, in your course, you talk about this a lot. And just from the interactions that you and I have had, I know that this is a value for you, but like, go, like, be who you are and honor that first. And so, as a collaborative group of people, that's my intention as the leader of that group too, to as much as I can create space for each of us to be who we uniquely are and not be like, you've all got to be the same person, because that's not, what good would that do us, right? Like, I'm not the same person as you. You're not the same person as Siri. Siri's not the same person as Cassandra, as Gabrielle, like, of everybody. We all bring a unique perspective, and there's value to that. And so I'm glad to hold that space, and I'm glad to have you on the team and to have that perspective and to have that, like, I'm really chilled out about things, and this is the way I approach my life. And I think what a great lesson just off the bat for all of the people who are really stressing out. And I know I'm not a parent myself, and so I'm highly reliant on people who are actually doing this like you to inform even what are the things that we need to address. But I see posts all the time on social media now about, I either see one of two things, which is, I guess, how social media generally is. I see people who are like, oh, this is the best thing, and I'm so excited. And you're like, I don't know if I really believe that that's totally how you feel all the time. And then I see this other side where people are like, oh my gosh, I'm stressing out. There's expectation from the school district and from my children. And now I'm at home working, and I was in an office before, and now I'm at home and I still have to get my work done. And how do I do all of this? And I want to do it all with excellence, and I don't feel like I can. And so one of the things that you start off when you're talking in your full accidentally homeschooling course is like, it's okay. So tell us a little bit more about, like, what's the big message that you want to tell the parents who are really struggling right now?
That it's okay. I think I'm going to take a little excerpt from the public service announcement that Dr. Emily King did. And I did throw that in the course as well, but it's not hard because you're doing it wrong. It's hard because it's too much. Like, going through a pandemic, losing your job, maintaining your house, being around your spouse for maybe the first time ever for a month straight, like, all of that is just enough in and of itself. And then you put the pressure of, we want what's in the best interest for our children, and we feel like that looks a certain way. That's why it's someone else's job. Like, I don't know how to do that. They're going there. It's going to get taken care of. But now it's like, it's on us. And not because the teachers aren't totally kicking ass right now. Like, our teachers are really having to adjust and figure it all out. And they're missing their kids, and they're hurting for their kids that don't have access to Wi-Fi or to laptops, or, and they can't stay connected. And like, our teachers are kicking ass. And just because they're doing Zoom calls or there's recommended things that are happening, that's not really in alignment with what's really going on. And so there's all this pressure to make sure your kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But what is that really? And whose idea is it that they have to keep up with where they need to be at this point in time? Like, there's just so much. So what was your question? Like, what's my message? Like, chill out and just I think like taking care of your mental, emotional, and physical needs first before like trying to pivot your business online, or, you know, being an expert at homeschooling all of a sudden, or doing any of the things that you're thrown into. I think you really need to like check yourself and just be okay that it's not, I mean, even homeschoolers that plan on homeschooling, like me, we go into it with this idea, this vision, this intention, and not just in the beginning, like this beautiful, beautiful idea of what it's going to look like. We're all going to be sitting around the table and like doing nature hikes with our sketchbooks, and, you know, and not to say that there haven't, I mean, there's obviously beautiful moments, but we have this intention of what it's going to be like. And then you're in it and it's hard and it doesn't work. And the kids don't care that you spent 6 months planning their curriculum. Like, they don't care at all. That means nothing to them. They don't care that you spent money on it or that you spent your time or anything. It just doesn't work for them. And so even people who plan this fail forward. So having the expectation that your children are going to transition from seeing their friends all the time and having a routine, and then they're home and you're home and dad's home and everything's crazy, and that they're supposed to maintain like some kind of, I don't know. I might be getting into my personal opinion here. So
No, I think that's great. Your personal opinion has so much value because like I love that you've just said, like, even those of us who planned it, who went in intentionally and created a plan and then started doing the thing according to the plan that was made, even then you're failing forward. And so I come back to this quote that it's not hard because you're doing it wrong. It's hard because it's too much. So you're dealing with your children are dealing with change. Your children are dealing with uncertainty. Your children are dealing with chaos and feeling like, well, maybe I'm not in school now, so I can just do whatever I want, because usually I have more freedom at home than I do at school, but now school's at home, and how does that work? So navigating all of that. And then the same thing is happening with a lot of parents. You know, I had more structure when I was in my office, but now I'm at home and I have to figure out, how do I get my work done in my day when my kids are calling me and I've got to, you know, over here now I got to go make lunch for everybody because people need to eat. And before lunch was taken care of before we left the house. Now it's not that way. So there really are so many elements of this that I think starting off from the place of like, it's okay. You don't have to figure it all out right now. And it's okay if you try some things and they fail. And your kids are going to be okay. They're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important message. And I am not a parent, like I said, but I can just empathize or sympathize. Like I can't imagine all that extra stress. And so there's enough happening right now that we can't control. But one thing that we can control is how much expectation and pressure we put on ourselves. And so adjusting that to give ourselves grace in this season is so important.
Yeah. And I think particularly the families, there's a lot of kids that don't have access, you know, to what they need in order to thrive in this environment. And there's a lot of kids that are at home with parents who aren't necessarily like the most healthy to be around all the time, or in, you know, there's, you know, domestic violence is seeing a big spike right now because people are at home. And so I just think that I think if the kids want to have busy work and have something to do, and that's like a safe, happy place for them to go, and you know, for some kids that will work. Like for mine, my kids are never going to be the kids that are like, oh, can I do more book work? Like, do more worksheets for me, Mom? Like, that's just not what's going to happen. But for some kids, that's awesome. And we need to have resources available to them, be that online or, you know, in book form, because some kids don't have access to the internet right now. And anyway, I just think that kids are going to be absorbing a lot of the stress that, you know, just like any day. Like my teenager starts acting out when I'm pre-menstruating. You know? Like, he's just like, oh, something's going on with Mom. I'm going to mirror her. So think about what your kids are absorbing if you're stressed about your marriage and your money and your future and all the things that you can't do and all of that. They're just like little sponges. And
I
it's
know
hard to maintain.
you talk in your course about like starting from the place of figuring out like what your family values are and creating your schedule around that. So can you talk a little bit about what that is? Because some people here who are watching and listening have thought about that before, but many have probably not. Just like so many things that we're thinking about stuff that we haven't thought about before. So how, like, what do you mean by family values, and how would people discover that if they haven't thought about it before?
Yes. So this will be my second video on values for the day. So this is good. I'm crying. So I look at the world through a lens of values, goals, and priorities being in alignment with your time, energy, and money. And that's pretty much how I operate. So like this has to like, it can go like this, but it can't be like, whoa, you gotta, for me, yes, center activity around your unique family values. So I'll just go through, I guess, some of our family values. Eating together as a family is super important. So we are now doing, because we have the time and it cuts back on dishes, we're doing brunch and dinner. And if the kids need anything else, they can fend for themselves. I don't want to deal with it, right? So having that time together around the table is really important. For me, it's one of our values because that gives us time to do our family share, where we can do reflection and gratitude. And that's like a sacred practice that took a lot of intentionality to build. And pre-COVID, it was happening 4 or 5 days a week. And now it's happening more like 10 or 11 times a week, and that's a huge thing. And I think we get more out of that time than we would get trying to like enforce any particular conversation about something that the kids aren't interested in. Another family value is being outside and gardening and, playing with our dogs and stuff. So that is a huge thing that now we have way more time to do. And so above even, I would probably say even doing reading lessons with the kids, it's getting outside. It doesn't matter what we're doing. It doesn't matter what the weather is, but we have to do that because that's really important. And so we're building our schedule or our rhythm. We don't have a schedule, which we can talk about the difference between a schedule and a rhythm. But it's like, it's slow. Everything's slowed down, and we're having meals together and we're being outside together. There may be, I think my oldest son, he does online classes and he was doing them before this anyway. So he probably does like 3 or 4 hours a day, but the little two don't really do anything right now. But we are still trying to do like a reading lesson. And then we bring in just whatever they're interested in, any conversations that could be educational, which most of them are. If you're listening to your children and what they are actually, the questions that they're actually answering, they're really looking for a deeper conversation that they can understand. And so it's just a lot of conversation and a little bit of reading lesson, but that's about it. And then they do get screen time. Like that's how we're flowing through the day. By 4 o'clock, I'm done. I am not a homeschool mom that's like, I can't wait to wake up in the morning and hang out with you all day. Yes.
Yes. But I think that's a really great point to make, because I think there can be a perception that, especially for those who choose to homeschool, that is how they feel. And I have enough homeschooling friends who some of them are that way, but most of them are not. They chose homeschooling for different reasons, not because they were like, I'm excited to spend all day specifically with my children and not have them go away for a little while. That was not the motivation. Yeah.
No. And in pre-COVID, we had our kids in programs 3 days a week. There was stuff going on. And so it is, even for us, a huge adjustment to just be home all the time with them. Yeah. So, but there's a lot of educational, and I did talk about this in the course as well. Like there's a lot of quality and good educational resources online that you can use that, they're kind of like the guilt-free for me anyway, and maybe not for you. And it's okay. all about my homeschool right now. But like the guilt, I don't feel bad about when the kids are there. My favorite one right now is Prodigy. It's like this wizard game where you're like casting spells on other wizards and you're battling, but you have to do math problems first in order to cast your spell. And like, I just don't feel bad at all.
Yeah.
But if the kids were on YouTube and I let them, and I'm like, oh, this is so peaceful and quiet, I'm just going to keep cooking dinner and pretend like they aren't actually on, because I totally do that. You know, it's just easier when they're occupied. But it's a different feeling. I don't feel bad about them utilizing quality online resources for educational purposes. So 4 o'clock, that's my happy hour.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. So I know one of the things that and you give more resources specifically in the course too. So anybody who goes through and actually takes that course, you're going to get other resources that you have found to really be helpful for you. And again, every family can go through and decide if that works for them or not. But it's great that you gave so many specific resources. And I know one of the things you did in preparation for today, and then I also did it on a couple of spaces as well, but asking the questions of like what are the things that people are really struggling with now? And so what are some of the things you're really seeing, and how would you respond to those issues?
Yeah. So I put out some feelers to a parent group locally, and then also onto my private page. And I had tagged a few friends that had expressed like, what am I supposed to do? Mm-hmm. And so I did get some answers. And then you put out the same feeler earlier today, and someone was talking about math and not being able to, like, you know, when you're not constantly learning at the same speed that your kid is, you know, I still have to figure out how to do 7th grade math, like finding the surface area of, you know, whatever the formula is. I really do have to like, okay, well, show me the lesson, and I might have to look up a YouTube video, you know, but like, it's not like we just know how to do all the math that we did, because the school system does just push you through whether you really comprehend it or not. Yeah. I mean, and I was one of those kids I was good at getting by. Like, I never excelled at, like, I didn't really understand what the hell was going on. And then, you know, but I was good enough to figure out how to graduate, you know, and a lot of my learning, honestly, especially in history, I don't even know how I got through high school, but I have to learn everything back over with my 7th grader. For my 1st grader, I still know pretty much all the stuff that he's learning. But for my 7th grader, it's like, I'm really having to learn everything alongside him. And so the question had to do with, you know, geometry homework. And there are apps out there. There's a Photo Math. I think it's $10 a month, which is ridiculous. They do have a free trial right now, probably because of all the COVID stuff. But so they have a free trial right now. But you literally take a picture of the problem, and then it shows you step by step.
Oh, wow. What was that called?
Photo Math.
Photo Math.
Photo Math. But it's not free, and we want free resources. So Khan Academy, KHAN, they are a nonprofit. And so they are going to, if you're on their email list, they're constantly going to be asking you for donations. However, all of their videos are on YouTube. You can just type in Google search Khan Academy, and then whatever the specific thing is. So if it's finding surface area, and it'll pull up a video of someone going through and doing that. So those would be, I would probably do Khan first. I haven't played with Photo Math. I've heard about it multiple times recently. And after seeing that mom post that question, I was like, oh, I need to go learn more about that. So apparently it's a love-hate with that one, because it works really great. However, you have to pay for it. And so.
Well, I'm guessing there are some parents who are like, we can't spend any money. And there's probably some other parents who are like, listen, if it's going to save me, like if this is going to save my sanity, it's worth the $10 a month or whatever the cost is, because I can't do this. And the thing is too, like it's figuring out the balance, because again, this is not the only stressor for people right now. It's one in addition to many. And so if you can get some resources behind you, it's the whole concept of why we even put together all these work from home courses as well, because we fully know nobody has time right now to go through 30 of our courses and get all of that information. But you can go in and pick the one thing or the two things that you really need right now and get support around that. And it's worth it because there are too many other things to stress about right now. Get support and help and invest in yourself so that you don't have stress in some of those areas. And then you've got a little bit more energy left to deal with the stuff that you can't control, that you can't change. You know, all the resources that you'll give, like recommending for homeschooling and how to process it, it doesn't matter. Like, there's still going to be things that go wrong, and you're still going to have kids have really bad days, and you have really bad days. And it, you know, just save some of your energy reserve because those days are going to come.
Right. Pay the $10. We are paying for subscriptions that we weren't paying for in the beginning of March, for sure.
Yeah.
Like 3 of them for the kids' online learning. And it's great because, you know, time is really valuable. It's really precious.
Yeah.
And we're also trying to work from home.
Yes.
Says it right there.
Yes, exactly. Well, and
cheaper than childcare, which you can't get anyway.
Well, and you haven't really talked a lot about it, but you have your own business, and then your husband also had a storefront, a tattoo shop, and so that had to it was one of the first things to close. And then you have your own business as a coach who helps people around issues with money and getting that stuff straightened. And so you are also dealing with, you know, shifts in your economic situation, in your home life. Like you are dealing with all of these things. So the things that you're sharing are not just like, oh, this is some idyllic thing that I thought of that maybe is helpful. You're like, no, these are the things that help me have some sanity.
Yeah. Screens are a friend of our families.
Yes.
So
yes.
I like,
good.
And it's good to do research ahead of time instead of like, you know, opening the app store and just typing in like math games for toddlers. You know, it's going to pull up a lot of crap.
Yes.
So do your homework. I mean, spend a few minutes looking at specifically what areas are your kids. You know, we want to pick things that our kids are interested in when it comes to like how we spend our time. So if your kids are really interested in bugs or insects or nature or, you know, sorry, Kai just came in and like slammed the door. He just got home from a bike ride.
This is the season that we're in.
Real upset. Or, you know, whether it's, you know, bike riding, right? So that's stuff that you can do like cross-curricular things. You can bring in math and English and history, and they're going at it. This will be great because we're live. Of course, this is happening. So
I can't hear them, so that's good.
Oh, okay, good. You can bring cross-curricular things in around things that they're interested in, but then there's also going to be the areas that your kids are they struggle. You know, because I don't know about anyone else's children specifically, but my children each have like an area where we really need to work on. And usually there's one academic and there's at least one on like a personal level. And so that's where I would be focusing my like one-on-one time with them, is around what they really need help with. And then sorry, you really can't hear anything?
I kind of hear it now. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Though. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I can still really hear you. And look, this is real life. This is totally real life. You can listen, anybody who's watching this live or the replay, you can see like, this is real life. This is not scripted. This is not like all prepackaged and looking pretty, because this is real life. And so this is what we deal with. Everybody who's watching, who's working from home, and especially if you haven't been doing it and now you get on conference calls and you've got kids at home, this has happened to everybody. Or even if you just have like, I live with 3 other adults, it still can happen. Like, they're probably hearing me right now when they're trying to be on a conference call. It's the season that we're in, and we just have to adapt. So don't worry about it.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I'll watch the replay and do it from not my own perspective. perspective.
Yeah.
You know? You're a lot better about it.
Okay, so let's go back to this because I know there were other concerns and questions that people had. So what are some of the other things you commonly are seeing people struggle with?
Keeping kids occupied and engaged. People really want to see their kids like digging deep and being really into stuff. And like some kids are like that. Some kids can just fall into an interest and like immerse themselves. And some kids really struggle to do that. Some kids are not very self-directed. And so, I mean, and keeping them occupied, I think that the best thing that our kids could be going through, particularly right now, while we have a lot of control over how they're structuring their day, is to make sure that they're as bored, not as stimulated as possible. Because so much juicy, awesome goodness comes when you take all that they care about away. Like when again, I'll talk about Kai because he's the loud one right now. When I take away his Xbox, I'm never going to take away his bicycle or anything like that. But like if he's slipping off or he doesn't get his school stuff done or whatever, and I'm taking away his privileges, like it's through those times where he doesn't have his regular stuff that he's going to do, and for little kids, it could be their toys or, but just like remove all the clutter, all the noise, all the stuff. Like less is so much more. And they're going to blossom in that space, that's my about keeping kids occupied. I understand if you're on a conference call, I have made sure that the kids were all doing things intentionally so that they weren't just in the house. That would not work for 3 boys in this house trying to be on a call. However, on like a regular day-to-day, if I'm just trying to get work done, but I'm not meeting with somebody, they're way more interested in whatever it is that they find themselves doing. If I'm not like, here's your train table, here's Play-Doh, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's, let's have a book on tape going, you have all these options. What do you want to do? It's going to be a mess. There's going to be fighting, and if I'm just like, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Go outside. Like they're going to occupy themselves for a lot longer. However, we still have parents that are trying to work 9 to 5 at home.
Yeah.
And then we have kids that are supposed to be on Zoom calls or doing whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. I don't have a public school kid, so I don't know what the expectation is right now, but there's stuff coming in from the school district that they could be doing, but you're trying to work, and maybe your partner is not at home. Maybe they're essential and they're leaving and you're working from home. And it's like, that's a zoo. That is a certifiable like circus train right there. And so I would be really relying on the minutes that I do have, whether that's a little bit in the morning, a little bit at lunch, evenings, or just scrap it all together and say, hey, we're going to get your stuff done evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
You guys can have free time from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to stay within that structure of school.
Yeah.
Kids love routines. I wouldn't do it different every single day. I wouldn't be like pulling the rug out from underneath them, but I would definitely look at if you have responsibilities and a job and you have to still show up in that way, why would you expect your kid to be doing the same thing? Like a lot of kids aren't that self-directed, and it also depends on the age of the kid. So I think night and weekend schooling, that was definitely something I wanted to say, like, that's doable. That's not that weird.
I think it's a great point. Like I've seen different parents post, and I've seen it too, like different school districts have different expectations here. So like, for example, I'm in the Twin Cities, and it sounds like based on what parents are saying, the St. Paul district and the Minneapolis district have different expectations. But one of them at one point, maybe it's changed, was saying there is an expectation that your child will be online at this time, at this time, at this time, and at this time. And so for people who are dealing with that kind of a school district, I would imagine, like, if I was in their shoes, the first thing I'd be doing is talking back to the district and being like, this is not possible. because all of these other things are happening. I'm an essential worker. I'm still going. My spouse is not, and they're here. Or I'm a single parent and I'm trying to figure this all out. Or we only have one device and we've got all these kids. And so I think it's okay in this season to have pushback and to know that you will be able to deal with some of the fallout if you don't follow every rule that the district sets up, if that cannot work for you.
I don't think they can hold kids back this year.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I don't know, but I would assume,
I would give me a break. You cannot hold a privileged child in the same hand that you hold someone who's going through hardship. You cannot expect that they're going to get to the same place at the same time, living in completely different freaking worlds right now.
Yes.
And if I was being told that, but I'm very like, I don't like being told what to do. I would say, screw you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want. And you know what? It's really easy to send in your letter of intent to homeschool. You can download it online and send it to the district and just not do, if what your school district is asking you to do is not working for your family, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Your kids are not going to be behind.
Yes.
Your kids are not going to be behind. I feel like I might get used to this. But
first of all, I just want to shout out Morgan said hi y'all. So hey Morgan, glad that you're watching. But I think it's an important message, again, not as a parent, and I understand that there are pressures that parents feel that I wouldn't feel, or that you wouldn't feel because you've already chosen to homeschool. But I think the message of like to reassure, especially the people who are scared to break rules, I think that this is the time to really question, especially if you go back to the thing that you talk about in your course being so important, is what are your actual family values? And if your family value is like, we need to, as best as we can, spend quality time together and not have it be all stressed out, not be putting on our children extra stress versus what they're already feeling. I can't have extra stress as the parent. This is a choice that you maybe want to consider making and say, I want the best for my children, but that has to do with a lot more than what the school district says is in their best interest. And so it's the time to start asking those questions.
Absolutely. And that brings me, there's a couple posts. There's some really good posts right now. And I don't know if I'm just on social more or if people are being more thoughtful about what they're sharing or what, but there was something last night about how I think it was Walmart, but the board game section was empty and the crafting section was empty and the gardening section was really barren. And like, let's see. And then and I personally have noticed I can't find yeast anywhere.
Yes. Nope.
Right.
Flour. Yep.
Baking stuff is depleted. And and this person was like, I was crying because the shelves were empty. But not because of like some scarcity, like, oh my gosh, we're never going to have paintbrushes again. But because people are doing all of these things, all of that stuff that's missing from the stores means that people are engaging with their families in a way that they weren't doing 2 months ago. And so if that's how you're choosing to spend your time, and you're not doing the reading packets or the stuff, I don't know. I think it really depends on the school district. Because if it was a school district like you were talking about that was very, I'm going to say anal, I guess. I'm sorry to say that on your thing, but that's what's happening for me.
There are way worse things that you could say, so you're good.
So, really strict, there would be pushback. But I think a lot of districts are also being like, here's what we can do. Here's what we are doing. Here's when we're available. Here are the resources we can give you.
Yeah.
And connect with us. We want to connect with you and do the best that you can. And so, there's definitely a couple ends of the spectrum, but however you're choosing to spend time is great.
Yes. And it's like, that is something you talked about too, that you, in the course, you talked about, your children may, depending on how you handle it as a parent, your children could look back at this as some of the best time of their life because they're getting quality time with family that they wouldn't normally get. They're getting to see mom or mom and dad or mom and mom or whoever. They're getting to see their parental units in different ways than they have before. And that is actually a really precious gift. And there's a lesson to be learned. You know, your kids are looking at the way that you handle this adversity and the way that you handle this stress. And if you take control and decide, look, this is how it's going to work for our family, and we're going to do it this way, you're teaching your children to have empowered choices as well. And so I think that's a really strong message. And I know, like, it's easy to say that, and I'm sure much harder to do if that's not what's been happening, but it's also such a great opportunity to make new choices for your family and to make things a priority that you couldn't make a priority before because of the way things used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all, I feel like there's just this a slow movement.
Yeah.
It's everyone's less busy and less is becoming that more, you know, it's just, at least from what I'm witnessing, but I do live in a corner of the United States that is, you know, pretty special. And it hasn't hit here quite like it has everywhere else. So, but yeah, another question that has come up was, you know, the number of hours that you're spending or your kids are spending working on school. And one of my friends was like, oh, you know, I feel so bad. It's only been, you know, maybe 2.5 hours a day. And I was like, it's pretty good. Like, you know, like, I mean, if it's focused learning time and you have maybe a parent that's doing it with you, 2 hours could be the equivalent to 6, depending on the student and how you're looking at it and how focused it is. So we've never been big on, we've never really done like the 6-hour days or anything like that. So I think that, you know, and even with the littles, we're just doing like maybe a 20-minute reading lesson, maybe an hour on their math game. Yeah. And then just conversation. Yeah. Which I don't really count that, but it has to be intentional. And I guess let's see, was there anything else that people were asking? The expectations of like trying to get everything done. And that comes back to that quote, like, it's not too much because it's hard. It's hard because it's just too much. Did I say that right? I don't think I did, but you can't, it's okay to just lower your expectations entirely. Like I wipe my counters down all the time normally. And there is so many like coffee rings and like crumbs and like stuff that builds up throughout the day where I'm like, people are home more, everything's messier. Like there's more laundry. How is there more laundry? We're doing more. How are there more dishes? Like what is going on? And so just like knowing that I could spend my time cleaning up after everyone or harping on them to do a better job cleaning up after themselves, but we're choosing not to. Yeah. Right. So everything's messier. I'm an advocate for lowering your expectations. Yeah. On everything.
I think it's good advice. I think that's applicable even for people who are not parenting or homeschooling in this season. Like we are all dealing with a lot, and we are not naturally equipped to know how to deal with all of this change. And even people who have been working from home by choice, like you or I, this is a different season. Everybody's working from home, communication has shifted, priorities are shifting. There's a lot happening outside of our homes it's crazy. So if you just step back, like if you were to look at somebody else, like say a friend comes to you and they're struggling with the same thing you're struggling with, what would you say to that friend? And now say that same thing to yourself and have that same grace for yourself.
My friend would say, who are you inviting over right now? Why does your house have to be clean?
That's perfect. That is a great way to think about that. Like, yes. And with school, like you said it isn't like, this is not to say like, oh, ignore your children's education and everything's going to be fine. Like, that's not it. But this is an exceptional year with exceptional circumstances, and do the best that you can, get the best results that you can without going crazy. And it's okay. Lower your expectations. Your children aren't going to be failures in life because these few months have shifted things.
No.
You back up and yes.
Mental and emotional health first.
Yes. Totally. One of the other things that I have seen people post or somebody talked about today was part of their struggle is that them and the other parent are not agreeing about how to approach education and time and dealing with this homeschooling thing. Do you have any input about how they can deal with that when there's two differing views?
So I guess I can only really speak from my experience, and that is I'm way better with certain kids at certain things. And my husband is way better with certain kids at certain things. And we don't really overlap when you look at it. Like when you look at what our strengths and weaknesses are with our children, there's not it's kind of divinely arranged that way, that we just happen to kind of we fill the holes. So yeah, I wish she was on here to comment on was there a specific thing? Because there's no right way to homeschool, even within a family, right? So yeah, I mean I think it's okay to have different opinions about how things are done. And, if he's the one that's doing the educating, let go of the reins.
Yeah.
If he wants to take more of that role, don't stop him. Why would you want to?
Why do you want more work?
That sounds great. But if it's him criticizing how you're doing it, you can also offer that as okay, well, is this a role that you want to take on? Or is there a piece that you want to take on? Because let's say, if it's a first grader, I just read to them, play games, read, have conversations. If it's a 10th grader, and there's certain expectations that they need to meet in order to, continue on the trajectory to reach graduation. And, let's say you're really good with math and science, and your husband really loves literature, and, he's more philosophical or whatever. And you guys can kind of divide and conquer. But if it's just criticism because you're doing it wrong in someone's opinion, then that's a marital issue, not really a homeschool issue. But I would divvy it up and just let, if someone wants to homeschool if your husband wants to homeschool your kid in a way that, it's okay for it to be different, and I would let him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever Paul offers, I'm go for it.
Okay. Oh, it's fine. You want to do it? Okay. No problem.
Yeah.
I'm not making chocolate chip cookies, right? You want to make them? Okay. That's fine.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, no, I imagine too there's probably some conflicts that happen, if one person is a rule follower and the other one is not, that could cause conflict in this season. But I think if you go back to again, going back to how you start in the course, you're laying out identify what you value as a family. Mm-hmm. And if you could take this conversation and take it away from homeschooling and just have a conversation with your spouse about, okay, let's take this time to figure out what do we value as a family. And then that might shift the way that you look at education. Because if you decide as a family that following every rule that's put in front of you is important, then okay, then we've decided that's our value. If you decide that, teaching your children critical thinking, and that means evaluating rules that are put in front of you, whether or not they're the ones that you should follow or not, then that informs your decision as well. And so I imagine that homeschooling becomes a source of tension because it's an unknown. So I have certification in change management, have led lots of organizations and people through that. And I can see, just because of how different people deal with change and how some people process quickly and some are more slow, there's just conflict that happens that actually it's not fully about the homeschooling, it's about something else that's going on. And so back up and see if you can figure out what those underlying things are, because if you can get at that root thing, it may make dealing with the homeschooling a lot easier. But in this season, it's easier. There's so much happening that I can imagine a lot of couples are just fighting about stuff because they don't feel like they have the space or the energy to go to the core.
Yeah, it's different. It's changed. Yeah. Paul and I didn't we didn't get thrown into it, and he's very much he just, I don't love that I make all the decisions, but that's, what works in our family for the most part. it's frustrating when we're like on a date night and he's like, well, where do you want to go to eat? And I'm like, would you just pick? I've got decision fatigue.
I've been doing enough.
Right. But, yeah, so I don't have that personal experience to speak to, but I would agree that it's not about homeschooling.
Yeah.
I think it's bigger than that. And I also, I put everything through that value, goal, priority lens.
Yeah.
And see where things are not working, And so, yeah, I guarantee you if a husband and wife are on the same page about what they want for their family, that they can take that and those values and just place it right at the heart of their homeschool and what the next 5 months are going to look like. Because a lot of kids aren't going back to school till September. And we don't know at this point how many summer programs and stuff are going to be up. So I think a lot of people are facing like, oh, it's not 6 weeks, it's 5 months.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
so
it's true. Yeah. It's true. And I mean, it's so, I feel like we could talk about this for a really long time because there are so many issues, but for the sake of time, I know we've got to start wrapping up here. And I want to first of all, thank you so much for your, sharing your experiences, your wisdom, and your perspective about homeschooling and about especially this concept of like, just relax. Like, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Just take a breath. Don't stress out so much. It's okay. And I know for people who get this work from home bundle of courses, if they take the time to go through your course, you really lay out like how to go through the value exercise and then how to apply that. You give really practical tools that you've learned to use online, and then just walking people through this process. And so for anybody who's still feeling overwhelmed, there are more resources for you. In this work from home bundle, there are Jenny's courses she's actually got a couple. She's got one in there also where she talks with another money coach, and they talk about like, how do you adjust your finances in times of crisis? So those are 2 of over 30 courses that are offered. And we put these together in response, like Jenny mentioned at the top of this interview, that this has all happened within the last few weeks. The content has been created specifically because of what's happening in our world right now. And so many people dealing with so much extra that we've never had to think about before. And so these courses are practical, real time, developed by experts who have tools to help you. So if you're still struggling with homeschooling, Jenny's course is going to really help you get at the core of figuring out what you need for your family and then how to organize your schedule and structure around that. So from the inside out instead of from the outside in. And it's so valuable. We want to get this into people's hands. And so what we did as a collaborative group, we're able to offer things at a much less rate than if each of us had created all this content. We would have to charge thousands and thousands of dollars because it would have taken our whole year to make it happen. But we came together to do it and do it in a way that's going to make it way more affordable to you. And especially we know that right now, a lot of people are really concerned about the economy and their jobs, and maybe you've already lost a job and you're not sure about where your income is going to come from. So we have taken thousands of dollars of content and made it available. The retail price is $4.99. And then we've got this introductory special, which do you want to talk a little bit about that, Jenny?
Sure. Well, and as a money coach, I appreciate that not only are you doing an intro rate, but that you've also made it available for people who are, maybe not able to apply for unemployment until Saturday, or, they haven't gotten their stimulus check and the money that they have, it's what they have. And so there's also, you're doing a 3 payment thing, like 33, 67, 3 payments of that. But even at $99 for the whole thing, when you could buy each bundle at, its own price, I just think it's one of the very few things like this that I would push ever, because I think that what comes into your life, you really should choose to do because that's what you want, not because someone else is saying to do it. Yeah. But this specific bundle has, I'm not going to be interested in some of it and I'm going to be super into some of it, yes. But the price point doesn't make it feel like it's a waste if you don't use all of it.
Yes.
Like you could do 2 courses, you could do 2 hours of it, and it would be, one course is actually, it covers the whole value. So I don't know, I feel really good about it. And the other thing that I'm going to stand behind on this is that when you and I were first talking, I was sitting on a pile of wood in my driveway. I was like, I just need to make sure, that this is coming from, I didn't want to take what's happening in our economy and like capitalize on that and like create stuff. It had to come from a place of service. Yeah. And that was part of the just our conversation was I needed to make sure that this wasn't like, we're going to design a course around, like that just feels so slimy. And this is not at all that, but I really needed to check that first, and you are so absurd, you are giving so much of yourself to this project, and the rate, I actually could not believe, because you didn't tell us how much it was going to be. So I was a little surprised what your intro rate was, but yeah, it makes it so it's like, why wouldn't you do this? Because there's not only the workplace stuff, there's home and family, and the what are you calling it? Soul care and growth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's soul care and growth. So like your personal development, your home and family, and your workplace. So even if you don't work from home, so it's called work from home, but even if you don't work from home, even if you are a stay-at-home mom normally, whatever, like there's so much value.
I'm going to actually share the screen here so that people can see, can see like all that's included, but so keep talking.
Yeah. And so I think for me, I am in a place, mentally and emotionally right now where I'm not exactly sure what my business is going to look like after this. I am really enjoying realigning my values and priorities with my homestead and my homeschool and all of them. Like that feels super good. So I'm not exactly sure I'm not sure that I'll go back to my office. I'm not sure I'm going to reopen the office. I may just do Zoom calls with the clients that I have. I just don't know. But so I would not be using this for like the productivity. I actually haven't even looked through all the courses for the business end of it.
Yeah.
But what I'm really excited about, of course, I'm excited about my friend Siri, but I'm excited about her anyway. But she's doing, she had 3 courses.
Yep, she's got 3 courses. Yeah.
One of them is about like probably maximizing your time, minimizing your time in the kitchen and efficiency and meal planning. And I'm kind of a junkie for all of that anyway. And so anything I can glean from her on that would be great. And then there's a life coach that's doing, I think she's taking like the lens of where we're at right now. Is it Devin? And like, how do you find your life purpose? How do you kind of reevaluate your life purpose from this state that we're in right now? I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, it's called Find Your Purpose in the Chaos.
Yes, that sounds great. And then there's, I think, a series on stress and meditation, which I think if you're homeschooling your children or you're working with your partner at home, the stress and meditation one would be just such a great combination. And then you just did a live with the couple that are working at home together in a tiny house or something, or in their RV.
In an RV. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh. So I did not watch that, but I have it on my list of things to rewatch. And then I'm excited for their course because my husband and I have worked together for 7 years.
Yeah.
But I don't go to work with him. I have my own business that I work on, but then we still have meetings, and it's really hard to be working around each other on, I don't know. So anyway, I'm interested in that one as well.
Yeah, there really are so many. And I'll tell you, their interview was really great, but when you go watch their actual course, they're really entertaining. So it's a fun course to watch, even as somebody who, I'm single, I don't have a partner, but I'm living with with family now, there's adults in the house and we've got to figure stuff out. But just the way that they approached it, there's one part in their course where I literally was laughing out loud. It was so fun. So, but there really are, like you talked about, there are so many, we've divided things into these 3 categories. So workflow and productivity, that's specifically things that are related to, your workflow. So you're setting up your home office, managing your time, avoiding burnout, those kinds of things. But you could pick and choose. You can take the courses that are most relevant to you and not take the rest. You can go back and take stuff later. This daily living and home is where the homeschooling one is, where your money course is, staying socially connected in a virtual world. So we've got an event planner who actually works for Louis Vuitton. She created a whole course in there that helps you think of really fun and creative ways to stay connected in this season. And then this whole section of soul care and growth. So stress and meditation, calming fear, understanding the change cycle. Look, we know that you're not dealing just with one thing. All of these things are relevant to the season, but you can go in and pick and choose. You don't have to spend, 40 hours of your time going through this stuff. Pick what you need the most right now and take 1 or 2 things from it. And I'm telling you, you will find that it's worth it. But you can see how, so on the top here, you see the buy for $99 or 3 payments. So we wanted to make it, super easy for people so that they can just get in and start using these things. Like, don't wait, just get in and start using it now. This introductory price, like you talked about, it's actually pretty crazy that we're doing it so low.
I keep thinking like, oh man, like I'm really glad that it's that, because I think that your whole vision behind this and the people that you attracted to work on this with you, it's all about reaching people and getting information and support out to people. Yeah. And so that is truly, truly, truly in alignment with one of my core values. But $99 is a steal.
Yeah. And I mean, look, and this is coming from a total place of honesty. That's our introductory rate, because we want people to get in. We want you to be using it. We want you to give us feedback. We want to be able to get testimonials from you so that we can use that to help other people see the value of this. So it's not just coming from our mouths. But we can't guarantee that price is going to stay around, because this really, and we keep adding more and more courses. So one of my strengths is the recruiting. So I keep talking to new people that I'm like, you have something of value here and you have the right heart. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this project? And the right people are without hesitation are like, I'm in. I want to help. I want to, be a part of this bigger movement. So
it's really heart-centered.
Yeah.
Which is why, yeah. I also would have been fine to not do anything productive with my quarantine.
Well, surprise, we got you anyway.
However, I feel really, it feels it's humbling to be part of a group it's heart-centered powerhouses.
Yeah.
Wanting to serve in a time of crisis. And it's just freaking awesome.
It is. I'm humbled as well. Like, just that it has, I don't want to start crying now because I have a tendency to do that, but just that, so many really amazing people have come together and done things so quickly and with quality. So it isn't that people did things and they did it half-heartedly. No, like, people really spent time saying, what can I share that's going to hit people where they need it right now? And you'll see that as you go through the courses, like marriage and family therapists, hypnotherapists, money coaches, life coaches, IT specialists, financial planners. Like, there's all kinds of different backgrounds of people, and everybody's coming with excellence. And that doesn't mean, listen, we're in this season, this project is not about having perfectly polished videos that have no errors, or we're real and we're all doing this in a time of quarantine. So it's not about that, but the content and what you're getting, the quality of what you're getting, that's there. We wouldn't do it without that. But we're not concerned about things looking like all polished and pretty that way. We want to make sure what you get is relevant to you right now. So
I know in the homeschool course, I was like, leaning, I'm like, hold on, I got this. Hold on, I'm learning new skills every day. And I watch, I'm like, well, edit it out without doing the whole thing over again, because I don't know how to do that. So
no. It is
what it is.
It's real. It's awesome. It's real. So we put the link again in some of the chats. So just the platform we're using, there's some chats where we can't do that, but it's in the description of this live. So if you just look above where you're watching from right now, you should see the link to go and get this special offer. So you've got to use this link. If you just went to go like to the public site, you'll see it listed at $4.99. And so you've got to use this link to get that pricing. And again, act quick because we might come to our senses and be like, we're giving this too little. So,
I mean, I honor that you're doing what you've right, but yeah, I was really shocked. I mean, I've spent and wasted a lot of money on development and courses and online stuff that you really don't know, the value that you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And paid way more.
Yes. Yeah, we've been there. I've been there too. And that's part of that is actually, part of the heart behind it of like, we have many of us who are part of this project have spent money on things before that didn't really pan out. Sometimes they do too, but we just want to make the barrier of entry non-existent. It's a no duh kind of, yes, of course, even if I only take 2 courses of these 30 or more, because I'm telling you, we keep adding more stuff, even if I only take a couple.
Are you going to keep anything that gets added on? Do you still get for the price
so
that you get in at?
Yeah, anything that gets added in these categories, we may do some specialty bundles that are like aimed at like, say, entrepreneurs and business owners or parents, like that there would be a whole set of courses just aimed at those people, and those would be add-ons. But anything that's in these general categories that we add as time goes on, once you have access, you'll still have access. So anything new that comes along, you can take those courses too. And you can go back at any point. You can take them in any order you want. You can skip whatever you want. And a lot of the courses have downloads with them, so you can follow along with worksheets or outside resources that you can access too. And then every course, if you go through, you'll see that there's a description of the course and then learning points. So you know in advance, here's what I'm going to get if I watch this. And then at the very bottom, you read about the instructor, but then there's how do you connect with the instructor? So like Jenny, at the bottom of your courses, it lists out your website, your social media handles. So any way that people need to get a hold of you, they can. So if they need to follow up and ask a question, if they're like, hey, I really enjoyed the money thing. I really need somebody to work with me one-on-one around my money. How does that look with you? Can I work with you one-on-one? They know how to get a hold of you. So you get to see how Jenny works. You get to see her heart, like we're talking, we combined on this project because we share the same heart of serving people. You could go search on Google for a money coach and you're going to find all kinds of people, many of whom don't have that same motivation. So you see it here, you'll see it in her course, and you can connect with her personally because you see that her heart is that she really wants to serve people. And that's what you want, right? You're watching this because that's who you are too. And so this is a way to like just sort through all the weeds of the internet, right? Like there's so much crap out there. We'll help you like narrow it in. So anyway, I have really enjoyed this conversation, Jenny. So glad that you are a part of this team. And if anyone's watching the replay and you've got extra questions, pop them in the chat and we'll follow back up with those as well. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side with these courses, and let us know as you get in and start taking stuff, give us feedback. What was helpful? What tips have you used? How has it transformed your life and your family? Let us know, because we're also people on the other end of this, and it fuels us when we hear success stories. It fuels us to be like, let's keep going. It's worth it. We are helping people in their life. So be in touch.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Kelly.
All right. Have a great rest of your afternoon or evening, depending on where you are and when you're watching. And we've got more lives coming up. If you're not already a part of the Facebook Work From Home, Survive and Thrive Tribe, head over there and just request to join. It's a great community of people who are working from home and are supporting each other. We post a lot of different kinds of resources there as well. So head over there, and we've got other lives coming from the rest of the instructors as well. So lots of great free resources happening too. All right. We'll see you later. Bye.